Welcome to the deep dive. Today our mission is unpacking this highly specialized piece of AV gear from HDTV Supply's massive catalog. It is the WolfPack 4K 60Hz 2x4 TV video wall controller.
Yeah, that is a mouthful.
Right.
It's basically this heavy little 5.5-pound, I think it's about $450 box that acts as the brain behind those giant public screens.
Right. Have you ever looked at like a massive sports bar display or a towering retail video wall and wondered how one single image spans multiple screens so perfectly?
Exactly. And what is really fascinating is, well, just how much math this device is doing on the fly to, trick your eye.
Yeah, let's visualize what it's actually doing. I like to think of it as a digital graphic cop. Imagine you have a massive, incredibly detailed 4K vehicle, right? And you need to neatly direct it into four perfectly sized 1080p lanes.
That is a great analogy because you can't just blindly stretch the painting or you completely ruin it.
Right, it takes a 4K 60Hz signal from its single HDMI or DisplayPort input and mathematically slices it up. But I guess my question is, how does it ensure the image doesn't look like a stretched out mess across four different 1080p screens?
Well, that comes down to a combination of point-to-point display mapping and something called edge adjustment. See, if you just chop an image into four pure quadrants, you are forgetting about the plastic bezels around each TV.
Oh, right, the physical frames of the TVs themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Edge adjustment actually hides specific pixels behind where those bezels meet.
Wait, really? It just hides them?
Yep. It mechanically compensates for the physical gap between the screens, so a visual element like a circle still looks like a perfect circle instead of a stretched out oval.
Wow, that makes total sense. And since four 1080p screens have the exact same number of total pixels as one 4K signal, every single pixel just lands exactly where it should natively.
Right. The math is strictly one-to-one, but to pull that off, the controller is incredibly picky about the incoming signal. It completely rejects interlaced signals.
Like 1080i.
Yeah, exactly, like 1080i. It demands a progressive scan to function.
Because an interlaced signal only draws half the image lines at a time, right?
Yeah.
If you're trying to slice a single frame into four flawless pieces, having half the data missing every fraction of a second would just make the math impossible.
You'd get a chaotic, jittery mess. Progressive scan gives the controller the full, solid frame it needs to map everything cleanly.
I've always wondered about those, bizarre vertical menu boards you see at fast food places or like a tall pillar of screens in a mall. People aren't rendering completely separate custom-shaped videos for every weird physical layout, are they?
No, not usually, and that is where the rotation feature on this hardware comes in, because the physical spaces where you build video walls aren't always perfect squares.
Right, obviously.
So
Yeah.
using just the remote control, you can take that segmented image and rotate it 90, 180, or 270 degrees.
Wait, so if you physically mount a TV completely upside down or build a bizarre vertical 4x1 pillar, this little 10-watt box just mathematically rotates the image so it looks completely normal?
It really does. It simply flips the math so the picture looks entirely normal to the viewer. And it really leans into a hardware-first design, There are physical buttons right on the front for quick control.
Yeah, so you don't have to dig through a dozen complex software menus on a computer.
Exactly. It even has a 3.5mm audio de-embedder with a dedicated volume knob.
Oh, nice. So that simply means it strips the audio signal right out of the HDMI cable, letting you route the sound directly to the sports bar's massive speaker system.
Right, instead of relying on the flimsy built-in TV speakers. It completes that whole tactile, hardware-first setup.
For you listening, this really highlights the unseen infrastructure making our modern visual environments function. It proves that complex digital feats rely on straightforward, adaptable hardware working quietly behind the scenes.
Which brings up an interesting tension when you look closely at the spec sheet. The source notes this device is HDCP 2.2 compatible.
Right, the standard digital encryption protocol. The digital lock that prevents you from pirating a 4K movie or illegally copying a live sports broadcast.
Correct. The controller is authorized to decode and route that protected content today. But as digital copyright protections get increasingly aggressive, you really have to wonder about the future of this kind of hardware.
Yeah, that is a great point. Will future routing hardware eventually be restricted from displaying encrypted media across customized multi-screen configurations?
It's very possible. Copyright holders could tighten these digital locks so much that it completely changes the landscape of public video walls.
That would instantly break all that infrastructure we just talked about. The hardware might be physically capable of splitting that 4K mural, but the digital lock could refuse to let it happen. Definitely a provocative thought to chew on the next time you're out watching a game flawlessly stretched across a giant wall of screens.